Okay, good. Everybody, ni hao.
Ni hao.
All right. You all speak Chinese, I can go home. I wish I had. Ni means, for those of you who don't know, ni means you, hao means well or good, and ni hao means are you well? Very easy. I've saved you a lot of money already. You don't need to study Chinese. That's the first lesson of Chinese. I studied Chinese at university, and then I went out to China and translated. And my main message is don't do it. Actually, they don't even say ni hao when you get there. They say ni chi fan le mei, which means you'll have had your rice. You think that's a joke? That's what they say. Ni chi fan le mei, you've had your rice. So you go halfway around the world, and you could have stayed in Edinburgh. Just the same. Yeah. So my message is don't study Chinese. Is anybody here studying Chinese? Good, you made the right move. I will explain why. I'm the only person who's coming on stage tonight. I think I'm trying to talk you out of studying their subject. I studied Chinese, it was a whim. I broke my foot, and I used to work in the summers and travel in the winters, and I broke my foot, and I had to stay home. And I thought, well, I'll just go study something. And I hated languages. I thought, okay, that's a challenge, I'll study something. And I went to the university, my local university, and found out what's the hardest language they got. Chinese. All right, I'll do that. 1 year. 1 year I'll study Chinese. I've just spent the last 20 years living in China. It's a nightmare. I could have studied Danish and Dutch and smoked weed, or Irish Gaelic and spent the last 20 years drinking Guinness and not living in a country where the politicians are trying to take over the world. Or had a girlfriend who didn't claim to be a Buddhist vegetarian every time I asked for a blowjob. But no, stupidly, studied Chinese. Maybe I can explain some of the nasty things about the Chinese language that you possibly don't know. There's no Chinese people tell you they've got no grammar. That's not true. They just lack a lot of features of Western languages. So they have no tenses. So you say, yesterday I go shopping, today I go shopping, tomorrow I go shopping. So if you just say I go shopping, it's like, well, when? And they didn't used to have passive or active cases until they studied Western languages, and about 100 years ago they adopted passive. Before that, when you study classical Chinese, it's all I killed you, or I was killed by you. It's the same. You don't know who's died until you get to the end and see who's alive still. I keep saying it's all true. I'm going to tell one lie tonight, okay? So everybody, don't come up to the end and say, I'll tell you which one it is, so you don't come up at the end and say, oh, it's all true, it's all true. These are all true facts about Chinese. They didn't have tenses, I've got 6 things. I've got very bad memory because I'm a bit old, so 6. Didn't have tenses, they didn't have active and passive. A verb is completed or it's not completed is the same to them. Like if you're trying to do something, it's as good as you've done it. So, a friend of mine came up and said, oh, my friend committed suicide. I'm going to the hospital with some chocolates. Why? Another one. What else? It says they have some gender, but quite often they don't. Like all pronouns are genderless. So he, she, it being a tree, a god, whatever. It's all ta. You just say ta. So it's very easy. And if you're gay, it's great because you don't have to let on who it is you're saying. Oh, ta, yeah. It is, that's quite a useful one. Number. There's no singular or plural. And this really bit me on the ass once. I was translating a book of photo captions without seeing the photographs. And there was a sentence something like, 中国人站在车子的旁边, a Chinese man standing next to a car. Translated it, sent it off. Now, 2 years later, I saw the book in a bookshop, and it said, some Chinese women standing next to 2 cars. And creative workers in China don't get a lot of credit. I've done loads of books, loads of translations, rarely get my name in the book. That time, Mark Malarkey, translated by Mark Malarkey. And that's why I've come home, because my work's dried up a bit. The worst thing, and you probably know this, I didn't know this before studying Chinese, the worst thing is that they have tones. You know about tones, right? Right, and you need to be a bit musical, and despite this, I can't hold a tune, as you'll find out when I get on to using it. Yeah, I'm completely tone deaf. And Chinese language, so you have like ma, 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 right? The 4 words. To them, they're completely different. So they all sound the same. But to them, it's like mark and mart and map, and you know, they're completely different. So you've got a sentence like ma ma chi ma ma man ma 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 man, which means the mother was riding the horse and the horse was slow, so the mother scolded the horse for being slow. Imagine, I'd done 1 year at university and I went out there without being able to sing a tune or anything. I was having a bloody nightmare. So those are I'm looking at my notes here. Oh yes, so there's a story about a Chinese guy. It's not me, but I think it's probably apocryphal. Anyway, he wants to buy some dumplings, and he says to the woman selling dumplings, 1碗水饺多少钱? And how much for a bowl of dumplings? But he gets one of the tones wrong. 一碗水饺多少钱 means how much for a night of sleeping together. Awful. Another one, I wasn't a witness to that, but I was in a bar in Beijing and there was an American guy running around asking everybody in the bar if they'd seen his foreskin. Everybody. A foreskin is a wrapping skin and a wallet is a skin wrapper. So he just got the two words the wrong way around. And he was asking everybody in the bar, you see my foreskin? I've lost my foreskin. Do you know where my foreskin is? It's got my valuables in it. That was the lie. I made that one up. The first three are true, but he didn't say it's got my valuables in it. I had plenty of, anybody who's been to China has got stories like this. Like once I tried to ask for, in a restaurant, ask for some soy sauce and got bananas. And I showed them the character soy sauce, which actually means soy oil, and they fried the bananas. I showed them the characters in the book. And another one, a guy nearly attacked me once because I'd asked for him to get out of the way so I could get by, but actually I got the tones wrong and I called him an alcoholic. It's not a good thing to call a Chinese person. Another time I was getting on a bus and there was an empty seat and I went for it and an old lady went for it. And I said, oh, you sit down. She said, why? And I said, what I wanted to say was, well, you're a senior citizen, which is a silver hair tribe. And what I actually said was, you're a pubic hair. Because Chinese have two words for hair. The ones on your head are fa, and the ones on anything else on your body is a mao. Like Chem and Mao, same word. And silver is in, and hidden is it's a bit like in too. So instead of saying, oh, you sit down, you're a silver hair, I say, you sit down, you're a pubic hair. I went to a bar with a woman. I've got a couple of mistakes like this, real humdingers. And I offered her asked her if she wanted to drink some penis wine. Yeah, it's funny now. It wasn't then. And this is because what I wanted to say was she could have a cocktail, but I screwed up the tail. Which they kind of translated and whatever. And another one, oh yeah, they don't have euphemisms in Chinese, hardly at all. Like breasts are just chest part. And down there is just down there. But they do have one, is fried rice means sexual intercourse. So if you go on a date with a Chinese woman, don't ask her if she wants some fried rice. Before you've made your moves. So I've been living 20 years, absolute nightmare, and and living with mama all day long. And then this year I finally came home after 20 years in China. And I'm from Manchester, but my mum wanted to live up north, so we came up here. And I got a job on a farm in Dalkeith, and this is true too. And a guy came up to me first week and said, Ken's you. We stood there for about 20 minutes, like, what? It's like, Ken's you. So I written a song about being a foreigner living in a foreign land, and it's called Ken's you. It's about an Englishman living in Scotland. And you can all join in on the chorus if you like. It's just kind of random things. The chorus, the verse is kind of slow, and the chorus is random. So you can all join in. You can probably sing it a lot better than I can. It just goes, it's Affy Dreich, she's Affy Sleekit. He's Affy Dur and you're just an idiot. Haggis is Affo, we's the new. G Ken, because Ken's you. Join in if you want. I will try to sing as best I can. came to Scotland, I worked in Dalkeith for a farmer called Jock who had very few teeth. So it came out of his mouth, I didn't have a clue. He said, "Do you ken, cause Ken kens you." I said, "I'm sorry, good man, can you say that again?" He said, "Ken kens ye, you know Ken." Suddenly it dawned and I said with a laugh, "No, I don't think I do, or is this man Ken?" My job was delivering dogs fed round the country, from down in the borders up as far as Pitlochry, and wherever I went, the people understood me. They said I spoke clearly like a man off the TV. BBC, I hope. The Scots in return speak innumerable dialects, like those ladies of Edinburgh who ask for little sex, and sad to say, they gave me the creeps when a housewife in Lark says, "He's a swatcher, you neeps." Well, go ahead about the course. It's halfy dree, she's halfy sleeping, he's halfy doing, you're just an idiot. Haggis is half full wish to know. Do you ken, cause Ken kens you? Apparently there's one speech that's called the Doric, though to me I confess it seemed pretty prehistoric. When delivering veg up to Aberdeen, the young man said, "Fire you gain and feet you dean." I said, "I'm sorry, I don't know what it is you're saying," but he merely repeated, "Feet you dean, fire you gain." "No good son, I still cannot tell." "Never mind," he said, "dinna fash yourself." Then a Glaswegian woman asked me, did I know that Scots are more poo than Eskimos have snow? There's cack and keek and something called a tolly, and Billy's favourite word was perchance a joby. I said, "Thanks, good lady, but shit, that's enough," and I jumped in my van and drove off to Macduff. "It's not shit," she shouted, "Scots prefer shite. As we say in Glasgow, it's Turkish delight." It's halfy dree, she's halfy sleeping, he's halfy doing, you're just an idiot. Haggis is half full wish to know. Do you ken, cause Ken kens you? I'll often get lost as I drive round your country when I ask for directions. People say, "I can't understand you. Where the hell's could put right cuisine and Kirkcaldy? And no one seems to have heard of Petty Quick or Milngavie." But most embarrassing was down in Dumfries when a young woman asked if I wanted a piece. Then my van broke down outside Minigaff and a bus driver confused me saying, "Come on, get out." It's an old joke, not mine. Jock often says this is a country of promise, but it seems you don't even have a post office, because last week he told me the strangest of sentences when he told me to take an old lady her messages. The strangest of all isn't in Jock's language, nor the pink lawn sausage that he puts in his sandwiches, nor the bright neon drink that's produced by bars. Rather, it's his pudding that's a deep-fried Mars. It's halfy dree, she's halfy sleeking, he's halfy doing, you're just an idiot. And 30 years on, it's the same as then, because despite where I've been, I still dinna ken.